Welcome back to Court Vision, another college basketball edition, because, well, we're still in March. We still got to be a part of March Madness. We got to take a victory lap, too. I mean, we'll talk about that in just half a second. But I'm here, Luke Backman, with my co-host, Vincent Zakian. Before we get started, let me know in the comments below how your bracket's doing. Hey, subscribe to Backman Sports and subscribe to Vincent's channel as well. That's down below, Vincent Zakian. Vincent, there's a lot of basketball over the past week. I mean, quickly before we get into everything, like just overall, what are your thoughts? What have your thoughts been? On this March Madness so far?
I think it's been absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, I haven't been this dialed into March Madness since like Zion. I was just thinking about it yesterday. I'm with it every year with March Madness. Like obviously it's a big deal, and it's huge for the NBA too. But I felt so. I feel like the star power this year is like unmatched in recent years. Like since Zion is what I'm saying, and it was just an amazing weekend of basketball, and not a lot of Cinderellas. I think that was, or really not any. I feel like there's none really left. The closest thing to that would be like Iowa right now.
Right.
But I thought the games were extremely high quality and really entertaining, and that's kind of all you can ask for. Like the Cinderellas all flame out eventually, but what you want is consistently good basketball, entertaining basketball, and that's what we got.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of points on national television have been about the Cinderellas and his March Madness dead. I mean, while no Cinderellas, like you mentioned, advance, I mean, Cinderellas gave top blue bloods, top seeds the run for their money. I mean, we can talk about the number one seed Duke against Siena. I got to shout out Jerry McNamara, new Syracuse head coach, before we get started.
Yes, sir.
Great hire, I think, from Syracuse. But, I mean, Blue Bloods were in trouble all throughout. We'll talk about High Point upsetting Wisconsin as well. I know Wisconsin's not a traditional Blue Blood, but that was a mid-major upsetting a Power 4, Power 5 school, a Big Ten school, to be exact. So let's get started recapping a little bit of the first weekend. I want to talk about the East region first. I mean, that's the one with the loaded. When we talk about Blue Bloods, it feels like all the Blue Bloods are there. Duke, St. John's, Kansas, Louisville, we can include Michigan State, UCLA, UConn. As we go to the Sweet 16, it's going to be Duke versus St. John's and Michigan State, versus UConn. When you look at this bracket, I mean, obviously the St. John's Kansas game in the round of 32 was phenomenal. Michigan State proved that they were fine. Them and Louisville was a nice game as well. I thought UCLA versus UConn, for as long, I'd say 30 minutes of the 40 minutes, it was a good game. And then, of course, Duke in life support against Siena. And then against TCU, there were some rocky moments for Duke as well. Overall thoughts on just the East region in general, Vincent?
It was definitely the region I was paying the most attention to. I felt like there were the most storylines. Not to jump ahead, but Duke St. John's is going to be unbelievable. Yeah, I really thought Duke was going to get... I mean, it would be the ultimate, like, March Madness moment if Duke, 1 seed Duke lost to Siena, and all of a sudden there's a third 1 seed that's lost to a 16 seed. Would have been unbelievable. St. John's, I'm just paying close attention to this whole tournament there. It's such a fun ride. Being on the Rick Pitino bandwagon is some of the most fun you'll ever have. I love seeing these videos of him after every game. He'll be in like a hotel lobby surrounded by St. John's fans, just holding court, just giving a speech. I guess that's what happens when, I mean, A, you love college basketball, and B, you've been doing it for as long as Rick Pitino has, and he has, a loyal backing. Just a guy who seems to fit in perfectly with the St. John's fan base. And that's awesome. Obviously, Darling hitting the buzzer beater. In that Kansas game, which I guess we can talk about a little bit.
Let's just get into that game.
Maybe the best game of it wasn't the best game in terms of quality.
Right.
It was a really ugly game.
And I put a tweet out immediately after. I mean, it was the ugliest basketball game for 35 minutes, and the last 5 minutes were an absolute classic. Kansas comes back. I mean, they looked dead in the water. They couldn't. I mean, they turned the ball over dang near every other possession. They couldn't hit shots, and then they go on this run. Maybe it was like a 20-4 run, 16-2, something crazy run to get them back in the game. They take a lead. They go back and forth. They tie the game, and they have all these fouls to give down at the end. And I gotta say, the referees in that game, for as physical as it was, I couldn't believe that they'd only whistled Kansas for 2 fouls in the second half before they get to intentionally fouling. They made a couple of questionable calls, like the backcourt violation, which was clearly touched by a Kansas player, and the last bucket where the Kansas player was standing out of bounds and then he jumped and so, whatever. I mean, the referees have been a little questionable this entire tournament. And one more note on that: goaltending should be a reviewable thing. Like,
my god!
I've seen like 3 or 4 missed goaltending calls that are plain and simple. I see it from my naked eye
On the broadcast angle, totally,
yes.
totally.
It blows my mind. That's 2 free points that a team is just getting taken away. It blows my mind that hasn't been fixed. But hopefully better reffing in the future. But Kansas, they foul. You get 3.9 seconds. And then you got bells, as Rick Pitino likes to call them. Yeah. He goes with the right hand, the opposite hand, because he's a lefty. I mean, he was shooting 0 for 4. I don't know why he continued to shoot threes during the game, but he did. Then he goes to the paint, layup. Broken defense by Kansas, terrible defense by Kansas, and St. John's wins. And you get Rick Pitino cool, calm, and collected when it happens, and then walking off the court, the fist pumps. I mean, you could tell how much it meant to get St. John's back to the Sweet 16.
That's how you do it. You keep it in control out of respect for the Kansas players that just had their hearts ripped out, and then you go and celebrate with the fans. I love the clock management. I mean, it's kind of an obvious thing, I guess, if you're a coach, but the just genius stuff from Bill Self at the end, essentially getting St. John's from 11 seconds to 3 seconds, making their situation much tougher, although maybe creating more urgency. I was locked in on Darren Peterson for a lot of that game, trying to see, is he going to take this game over? Is he going to play off the ball a lot? And it was a lot of off the ball. He had a couple good sequences to kind of just keep Kansas in the game while St. John's kind of pulled away mid-second half, and then he kind of got him back in the game. And then it wasn't a lot of scoring from Peterson to get them close and eventually tie the game. But it did kind of feel like St. John's couldn't get a bucket at the end of the game, which was a little scary for them going forward. But it was an amazing game, and I feel better about Peterson after this tournament, actually, because I feel like if he had just been around more, he would have been more the guy. But I did want him to kind of take over some of these games, and he really didn't. But he was exciting as hell, and I'm happy for St. John's and St. John's Duke. Zubia Giafor versus Cameron Boozer is a incredible matchup.
I can't wait. I will mention one thing on Peterson. I was a little disappointed with Peterson because of the fact, as you mentioned, I would have liked to see him take over as well, because when you looked at these two teams, they couldn't score because the other team was a top 10 defensive team in efficiency and on the metrics, whatever. But it felt like St. John's, and Kansas for that part as well, had to work so hard just to get one bucket.
Yeah.
But it felt like Kansas had that cheat code in Darren Peterson. He could create his own shot. He has, like they said in the broadcast, a quick clip. He can get a shot off like this. And it felt like sometimes it's go get the ball and clear out. You're going to be a top 3 pick. You're the cheat code. I would have liked to see a little more from him, but at the end of the day, hey, man, it was a buzzer beater that eliminated Kansas. You got to give props to the Johnny's defense. For 35 minutes, it was suffocating, and then Kansas was able to play with some pace and make it a game. But at the end of the day, Pitino moves on to take on Duke in the Sweet 16. At the other end of the East bracket, you got Michigan State versus UConn. And I talked about our bracket. I just got to put this out there. Our bracket, 99.8% correct. Top 54,000 on ESPN. So what, 30 million brackets were made? Ours is top 50,000. Yes, we did get a little... we were going for it with Purdue, and we can talk about Purdue. Maybe, we were hoping for an upset there. But overall, we were phenomenal. I think we only missed 4 games the first 2 days. And you think about that, Santa Clara over Kentucky, that game was, 2.4 seconds away from going our way as well. We'll talk about that in a second. But we got Duke versus St. John's, which will be a phenomenal game, and Michigan State versus UConn. Yeah. In both on our bracket, we had Duke beating St. John's and then Michigan State beating UConn. Are you still feeling the same way about both of those games today?
Yeah. Yes, I like Michigan State in that. I've been really impressed with them thus far. UConn was really awesome against UCLA. Huge game for Alex Karaban. Goodness, yeah. Mr. UConn, 2-time champ, just letting it fly in that game. How did nobody like plant a microphone at the scorers table for Mick Cronin and Dan Hurley, who I believe both got team text at some point during that game? Uh,
Did you see the one cut they had? Cronin's yelling at one of his players, "Get the F over
yeah,
there," and they cut to Hurley, and he's saying the same exact thing to his player, and it was just perfectly. I was like, whoever's working, I think it was TNT,
yeah,
that camera operator, the director knew exactly what he was doing right there.
yep. Props to them. Yeah, I've just been really impressed with Michigan State. I feel like they haven't even been challenged that much. They were like, it was a close game against Louisville, but they beat a really good opponent, and this is what Tom Izzo does, man. He
Yeah.
he's say what you want, only one championship. He always goes far in the tournament. Like he always is at least making a run, and never really has. I mean, he's got obviously great players on his team, but doesn't have the recruits Kansas and Duke and UConn get. So I'm really excited for that, and I feel good about them beating UConn.
I agree. They're fun. Their team is fun to watch. They're an up and down team. Colin Carr. I mean, he's got highlight dunks every
Oh my
single
God.
game. He's awesome to watch. I love watching him play.
I think he's got the best highlight tape in
I agree.
college basketball. Just between blocks and dunks, it's always like violent.
Oh my! Like when he attacks the rim like a prime Westbrook, like just with that type of energy, just
Yeah.
angry at the rim.
Yeah.
Then you got Fears, a nice point guard as well. UConn Caravan, it felt like they needed every bit of his scoring in that game. Again, this isn't a UConn team
Yeah.
on the same level as the two championship teams, but I do think this is a Michigan State team that maybe can take advantage in the full court transition game, just going up and down. So I like them against UConn as well. All right, St. John's and Duke. We got Duke.
Yeah.
Is this one you would change your pick on? How are you feeling?
No, I like Duke. I do like Duke, and they settled my nerves a little bit with the second half against TCU. I felt like, yeah, I want to take St. John's, but the fact that they just went completely cold in that toward the end against Kansas, kind of says what I think is going to be the issue for them. Yeah, I can't wait for this battle between Boozer and Ejiofor. They're gonna be in there. Yeah, and I think this Duke team's really, really good. And I loved, even though like the Siena game was a struggle, for like the first 3 quarters of it, the effort they gave, where it just kind of felt like once they got close, it was like, all right, Siena's will's broken, and they were playing the same 5 guys the entire game. Evans was amazing. Isaiah Evans was great for Duke in that game. I felt like he was, and also Caden Boozer was awesome too. I felt like they were almost more impressive than Cam, who was just kind of living at the free throw line. But I thought Cam showed a lot of good leadership, like really trying to like rally the troops when that game wasn't going their way, and I thought that was good of him. So yeah, I feel a lot better about this Duke team now post TCU. I think.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't switch my pick, even though it's tempting. I mean, this St. John's run with Pitino, the energy, everything feels tempting. Their defense is legit. That's one thing we know about St. John's. The defense is legit. The offense is so suspect, though. I'm right there with you. It scares me. If they get in a dry spell, 5 minutes plus, like they can do. I mean, they played UConn the second time this season, the second out of 3 games. They didn't make a field goal for the last 17 minutes of the game. Like, they can go ice cold. So I'm with you. I want to see Cam Boozer have himself a game. Second half versus TCU, he did step up. But I want to see a Cam Boozer dominant, okay, I'm a top 3 pick game. Maybe it's not against Zuby Ejiofor and that St. John's defense, but if they want to win this title and go to the Final Four and win the title, I mean, Cam Boozer is going to have to be Cam Boozer, a.k.a. Wooden Player of the Year, which he might as well be. Quickly, though, Duke versus Michigan State. Who do you like for that one for a chance to go to the Final Four? Final Four.
I like Duke in that one. Still, I think Duke's gonna take it the whole way. I think they're gonna be in the championship game.
There we go. All right, so that is the East region. Let's go to the South region. I'll put the hand up. We had some trouble with the South region, and the South region was a little crazy. We talked about Duke, a number 1 seed, almost getting knocked out in the first round. Well, it didn't happen in the first round. It happened in the second round. Iowa, the upset over Florida. And now that sets up a fun Big Ten matchup, Iowa versus Nebraska in the Sweet 16.
It's a football
and then at the
game.
bottom of the bracket, literally, it's a football game out there. I believe these games are going to be in Houston, as you got Houston and Illinois, the 2 and 3 seed, the teams that were expected to advance do advance. I mean, I mentioned these games are going to be in Houston. Is this Houston's region to lose, Vincent?
Totally. I've been much more impressed with them than the other three teams left.
Mm-hmm.
But look, Iowa, awesome. Like, deserved to beat Florida, I felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, the last second shot by Fulgaris is, like, amazing. They've just got a bunch of, like, solid, like, corn-fed white dudes that
Yeah.
that play really good basketball. And
Mm-hmm.
they competed with those top recruits of Florida. And, yeah, we kind of got killed on Vanderbilt, losing to Nebraska in absolutely like devastating fashion. The ball was halfway down the rim, down the hoop.
And do you
Yeah.
know that was Tristan? Oh my, his initials are TT. That was the second time it's happened to him this season. He had a game in the SEC where he launched a half court shot that went in and out as well.
Yeah. Tough.
Just, but that game was phenomenal from the jump. And,
Excellent.
I mean, props to Nebraska pulling that one out. But again,
Mhm.
Vanderbilt was this close. I mean, and it's funny. If you would have said we're not going to see a rematch between Florida and Vanderbilt like we predicted, and a lot of people, I would have been like, oh, okay, maybe it's just one team didn't advance.
Right.
I would have never guessed both teams are out before we could get to that stage.
Yeah. Yeah. And Houston made light work of Texas A&M, which is cool.
Mhm.
And Illinois beat the life out of VCU too. So I feel like those guys have really been in cruise control, kind of on a collision course for each other. And I would imagine the winner of this next game in the Sweet 16 is the favorite to make the Final Four.
I agree. I feel. I mean, it's a classic matchup of defense versus offense.
Yep.
That's Houston's defense versus the offense of Illinois, which has been humming. I mean, throughout the season, they have just bona fide scores all throughout that roster, and have they put up triple digits in their first game against Penn, 105, and then 76 against VCU. So going to Houston, basically to Houston. Houston, I mean, I was watching that A&M game. I forget which game I was watching that was on before it, but then I flipped to the Houston game because the other one was in the second half. So I flipped to the Houston one during commercial. And Houston, within the first 10 minutes of the game, had 10 offensive rebounds, and I switched it to a possession where they had 3 consecutive offensive rebounds on the same possession. It was like, okay, that can be demoralizing for any team, but
Yep.
I'm with you. I think this is Houston's bracket to lose. We already had Houston going to the Final
Yep.
Four. We had them beating Florida. Again, we just feel like that Kelvin Sampson defense. I mean, it just can suffocate anybody. And it's going to have to against Illinois. When you look at, I mean, the Iowa versus Nebraska game, a game that I don't think either one of us would have ever dreamed was going to happen in the Sweet 16. How do you like that game?
I think Iowa can do it. I think Iowa's totally proven that they can hang. And obviously, the Big Ten was like loaded this year, and there's 6 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16. They can clearly hang, and it's going to be cool. It's like this is kind of a football rivalry, but I'm excited. And Nebraska's dealt themselves in. Like, total credit to Nebraska. This is like their best ever basketball season. They've won 2 tournament games after never having won one, so they've totally like earned my respect. But I think this is going to be an extremely close game because I think Iowa's totally proved they have the quality, especially shooting, to hang with them.
I agree. And Schwartz, I mean, he didn't have a good game against
Yeah,
Florida. I think they said it was his
yeah,
first game without a three in like 2 months, basically. Or I forget what exact the date was, but like in 2 months, he went 0 for 9. But props to him. He's the point guard who made the pass to the guy in the corner to hit the game-winning shot. He knew what was going. He wasn't too selfish on that play. But I'm with you. I think Iowa, I feel like their run right now, this would be a fun game against Nebraska. Props to Nebraska, like you said. When they beat Troy in the fashion that they did, I said, okay, maybe this game versus Vanderbilt's going to be a little closer than I thought. Because I thought Vanderbilt, one of the hottest teams coming in, was going to be able to take care of business and get to that rematch versus Florida. Nebraska played one heck of a game against them. I think this will be a close back-and-forth battle. 2 Big Ten teams going at it. I like Iowa in that game as well. Are you still sticking with Houston against Illinois and then what we think would be Iowa?
yeah. Houston's done nothing for me to think otherwise of them. I think they're just an excellent team.
Totally agree. Again, Kingston Fleming's one of my I
Oh,
think
man.
what I think right now is my favorite player in college basketball.
Really?
When I watched him against Syracuse because they played Syracuse in the Las Vegas tournament to start the year. Syracuse really lost because they missed 100 free throws in that game. That was their season, basically, as well. But Kingston Flemings was incredible, but Kelvin Sampson isn't a guy known for playing freshmen. So I was like, oh, he had this one fun game at the start of the season, but he's a freshman. He won't get much run or won't be a focal point, of the offense. Well, that's been wrong, as he is the offense. He's been incredible.
Offense, yeah.
I love everything about Kingston Flemings. He's my favorite player in college basketball right now. So I'm rooting for Houston 100%.
Yeah, him and Acuff are both just flying up the draft boards right now. Like they might be like challenging that top 3, top 4 that we've been talking about all season.
100%. Let's go over to Darius Acuff's bracket. That's going to be the West region. Excuse me. We did pretty solid in the West region. Actually, Purdue. I forget Purdue's in the West region. But on the top half, Arizona is able to cruise. Closer game against Utah State, I'm sure that they wanted, but they get the victory. Yeah. Arkansas defeats Hawaii against High Point. Really fun game against High Point. High Point with the upset of Wisconsin. I mean, I think the 2 High Point games are some of the best games in the tournament. Well, that sets up Arizona versus Arkansas, a game I can't wait for. And then on the bottom half of the bracket, Texas. While we thought it was going to be NC State, it's in fact Texas that gets to the Sweet 16. But hey, it's the team that whatever we'll claim it because we had it. I will say when Texas got that win over Gonzaga, our bracket was top 17,000 on the app, and I can only imagine it would have been top 10,000 if Vanderbilt hit that buzzer beater against Nebraska.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, that would have been one heck of a way to finish day 8, number 3. But then Texas is having to face a team that we actually had losing, getting upset. That was Purdue. We had Miami over Purdue. I think it was. I don't know if it was more of we were underestimating Purdue or we were just feeling that maybe if there was going to be a team upset, it was going to be Purdue, a 2 seed. Obviously, Florida was the big high seed that's been upset in round 32. But Purdue was able to get the win, a close game against Miami. Nonetheless, as they set up a matchup against Texas, who's obviously scorching hot right now. All right, Vincent, how are you liking the West region? Which game is more compelling to you, Arizona, Arkansas, or Texas and Purdue?
Oh, Arizona, Arkansas. I mean, this is maybe the best player in college basketball right now in Darius Acuff. I'd say the player of the tournament so far.
I'm cool with that, yeah.
Yeah, and against probably the most loaded, best roster in college basketball. Jaden Bradley has been excellent for Arizona, as he kind of has been all season. He only averages like 13 a game, but he's, I believe, Big 12 player of the season and Big 12 tournament and Big 12 tournament MVP. Yeah. So he's just kind of their go-to guy in the clutch. He's kind of their steady-handed guy who, coaches love to have. Veteran in his 3rd year at Arizona. And he just kind of kept them steady against Utah State, who are a very good team. Like, got the win against Villanova. Looked strong against Arizona. He had the scoring down the stretch, and then they've got so many other talented players on that team. It's going to be – I mean, we talked about this when we previewed all these matchups, but we had Arkansas going this far kind of knowing that when it gets to these later rounds, it's going to kind of be Acuff versus the world. And Arizona's got so many guys they can throw at him, and it's going to be an ultimate test. But right now, Acuff looks like he's – probably going to be like a top 5 pick in the draft. And, there was a report, people were kind of laughing at it, but like the Kings are like sniffing around Darius Acuff. So maybe stay in school. But
yeah, get that NIL from Arkansas in Fayetteville another year. Don't go to Sacramento. I saw he just signed today a deal with Reebok and is going to get a signature shoe. I saw. I was wondering because Allen Iverson just posted him yesterday, and Allen Iverson was. I think the caption was "the next him." I was like, "That's the ultimate cosign right there." You get AI cosigning you, no one could tell me anything if that was the case.
Yeah, I think AI has cosigned a couple Sixers in the past, and it hasn't gone that well. But
the one I always think about is the John Morant jersey.
That's
MVP
it. That's what I was thinking about.
It was like, yours coming soon, Ja. And it was like, oh, you know what? But I'm still taking an AI cosign any day of the week. I mean, that's. I'm with you though. It's going to be Acuff versus the entire Arizona team. That it feels like Arizona's just a loaded team, and Arkansas, while they have complementary players around Acuff, it feels like it's Acuff's team, right? They go where Acuff goes. I like Arizona in that game. I just feel like the team nature of Arizona, they've been battle tested throughout. Not saying Arkansas hasn't, but Arizona has in the Big 12, tournament. These first couple games, Utah State's head coach just agreed to a deal. I saw this before we logged on with Cincinnati, so he just got a head coaching job in Cincinnati. So again, I feel like Arizona. I think right now they're actually the top team in the country. I would have had them over Duke. I think Duke struggles, and with their players injured. Caleb Foster, outside chance to return. He won't return. I don't believe. That's just John Shire just playing mind games with Rick Pitino. But I have Arizona as the best team in the country right now. I think they get the job done. Versus Arkansas. Texas versus Purdue. How do you like that one?
I like Purdue. Has like convinced me. I'm always looking for Purdue to get an early upset.
Yeah.
But they're on an awesome run, and they almost crashed the entire car a couple weeks ago. But amazing Big Ten tournament run, and they have totally rode that momentum into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And Texas, they're an 11 seed, but you can't call them a Cinderella. This is not a mid-major team. This is possibly the richest athletic department in the entire country. A lot of that money's going towards Arch Manning's pockets, but still a lot of high recruits on that team. But yeah, I like Purdue here to end the Texas run.
All right, so that would set up 1 versus 2, Arizona versus Purdue. Who do you have in that game?
Arizona. Arizona's just kind of unstoppable right now. I think maybe the best shot to stop Arizona before they get to the finals is now. Is Acuff just explodes for a generation-defining game and eliminates maybe the best team in the country.
There we go. Yeah, again, on our bracket, we got Arizona winning it all, so I'm in agreement with you there. I think Arizona gets through the West and heads to the Final Four in Indianapolis. The Midwest, all right, so we got Michigan versus Alabama, and we got Tennessee versus Iowa State. Interesting part with Iowa State is the fact Joshua Jefferson's turned the ankle in round number 1. It looked like it was pretty bad. I don't know what his status is as of right now for the games. Tennessee, I think I said this in my in the last episode. Tennessee, when they play their A game, they can beat anybody. They're such a hot and cold team that when they're hot, they are hot. Rick Barnes is a phenomenal coach, one of my favorites in college basketball. All he does is win and get teams. I think they said this is the 5th straight Sweet 16 appearance for Tennessee since 2021. They're obviously able to upset a number 3 Virginia. Virginia always felt like a number 3 seed. Yeah, they had a great regular season. Just wasn't your typical 3 seed, it felt like. And then Kentucky gets the win over Santa Clara. I mean, one of the all-time finishes of March Madness. I mean, obviously they get bounced the next round, but Kentucky versus Santa Clara was what you watched. That's why you tune in on a Friday afternoon to March Madness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those moments it's a bunch of players I haven't watched a ton of and programs I don't really care about emotionally, but I'm out of my seat jumping up and down when this guy knocks down a half-court shot to send the game to overtime. Iowa State, though, I was really impressed without Jefferson. They, kicked Kentucky's ass pretty much. Mm-hmm. And their defense, defense is one thing that can kind of survive injuries to great offensive players like that. And so Kentucky was really struggling. Oweh had a good game, I think, but that was kind of it for them. And yeah, so at the same time, I feel better about Iowa State, but they also are now down their best player. So, yeah, not going to be easy. But look, they're against Tennessee, who, when they're on, they're amazing. But, what if they're off?
Right. The flip side of that, yeah. What if they are cold? Is it enough to make you pick Tennessee or Iowa State over Tennessee? Because part of me wants to pick the Volunteers for this one.
I think I would take the Vols as well.
And again, if Iowa State was healthy, I'd 1,000,000% in a second say Iowa State, they move on. But I feel like Joshua Jefferson's, now that Rick Barnes has 4 days to prep for Iowa State without him. Kentucky, they had 48 hours, and they're we got to figure out how they play without. Now that Rick Barnes has a game plan heading into the Sweet 16 game with all this practice time, with this team to take on Iowa State without their best player. I think I like the Vols in that matchup.
Yeah, shout out to Livesey though. Their point guard had 26 and 10 in that game. He was I was trying to find the name in my head. He was unbelievable for Iowa State against Kentucky.
And let's flip up to the top half of the Midwest bracket. Michigan. All right, they defeated Howard. A little close at halftime. Pull away. I mean, dominate St. Louis. Slew Al Slender, or what was it? The kid with the goggles. They called him. He liked Rob Wave as a nickname. Slew Al Cinder because he goes to St. Louis. Interesting guy. I saw him. I was like, he's going to dominate in LA Fitness for the next 40 years.
He's going to be nice.
But Michigan's taking on Alabama. Bama got past Hofstra, demolished Tech. Thank you for beating Tech convincingly, because I went to bed early. I was like, I've had so much basketball these last 4 days. I saw the score when I was watching the UCLA UConn game. I said, yeah, Bama's got that one. But Bama versus Michigan, can anybody stop Michigan right now?
It feels like no. They are now the odds-on favorite. I think Arizona was last week, and I think Michigan overtook them because of how just awesome they've looked. And this is the generous side of the bracket. Like, we've gone through all these other quadrants, and there's some real like blue blood matchups coming up for those. But on this side, obviously, you've got Tennessee, who like we're skeptical of, but we know they're good on their day. Iowa State lost their best player, and Alabama. It's a good Alabama team. It's not as good as some of the past ones under Nate Oates, and it just feels like Michigan is the clear, like dominant team on this side of the bracket, just kind of destined for the Final Four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. You look at their two games, 101 and 95 points. 95. I mean, just an offensive juggernaut this team has been. I agree with you. I mean, sort of how we were looking at the UConn team. Like, it's still a good UConn team, but not the same level as past years. Like you just said, this is a good Bama team, but not up to the caliber that Nate Oates is at in the past. Ones that have gotten to the Final Four, Elite Eight, and Sweet 16 mark, which they are at right now. Right now, I think it's like we said for Houston, it's their bracket to lose. I think this is Michigan's bracket to lose. I like them against Bama. I like them against the winner of Tennessee and Iowa State. Excuse me. I think right now, I mean, they get to the Final Four. Them versus Arizona is going to be phenomenal.
Oh my God!
I just hope both teams get past what they need to get past, and they make that matchup happen in the Final Four, because that would be, I think, the two best teams in college basketball at this moment in the Final Four if they both get there.
Agreed.
So we got sticking to our guns here. Luckily, we got Duke versus Houston and Arizona versus Michigan. Vincent, any other stories from March Madness that you want to shed a light on? Excuse me. And then any other games in particular? That VCU North Carolina game was phenomenal.
Oh man,
Hubert Davis. Who knows what's going to happen with Hubert Davis in UNC? But that was a great comeback from VCU. Had some other great games. Anything else that stuck out to you from the first weekend of the tournament?
That's an interesting point about Hubert Davis. Do you think he's going to get? I feel like he's going to get fired. I feel like they've been really underwhelming.
I feel like, I mean, at this point, it's such a toxic environment right now in North Carolina. Like, it seems like Hubert Davis, I don't know if he wants to coach. There's been reports that he's kind of, I'm here. Like, it doesn't mean too much. And then, obviously, the North Carolina fans want his head because they're storied program. Same with Kentucky and Mark Pope. I mean, one of their worst tournament losses of all time. And remember, like, I was talking to someone and they were like, oh, would they fire Mark Pope? I don't think they'd fire him this year, because you can't fire a guy when you fired his predecessor, John Calipari, and he's in the Sweet 16 for the second year consecutively. Yeah. You got to stick it out with your guy, thinking, hey, we fired Calipari because we thought Pope was going to be the guy. You got to stick it out with Pope. So Kentucky, you're going to stick with Mark Pope. But for UNC, Hubert Davis, man, it's been a weird vibe at Chapel Hill for years, because they went on that run to the final
in his first year.
Years ago. Right, and it was like, again, they were like a 10 seed, or they were a high seed that year. They weren't good. And then Caleb Love caught fire, and then they go to the final. And since then, I think they've missed the tournament, or they've been high seeds, and then they've just been disappointments. And then this last game against VCU, 19-point lead, and you blow it. I would be surprised if Hubert Davis comes back.
Yeah, I feel like they should just go younger. I mean, Duke went young with Shire. I mean, they had been like setting him up to be the coach for a while. I don't know if I'm not tapped in with UNC like that. I don't know if they've got someone they've been kind of grooming to be their next
I'm
guy.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Just hire like Tyler Hansbrough or something. That'll do
Right? Yeah.
it. Someone who played
Get
against John Shire.
good old. He probably didn't play against him, but Theo Pinson. He's all. He's on the. I see a podcast clip of him every day. He's got some time. It seems like it.
Yeah.
Theo Pinson is the head coach at UNC.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at any other games.
I'm just hyped for
Yeah,
Duke
overall,
St. John's, bro.
Same. Like I just feel like that's when you look at the buildup in DC, and that's one thing we talked about it. St. John's having to go to California for the game in DC on the East Coast. Obviously, Duke's going to have their fandom there, but St. John's is going to have the Johnnies there as well. Like I think that was by far the most expensive ticket for any of the games. I think I saw upper deck was in the 1,000, like already 1,000 plus, like something crazy like that for the game. Probably on secondary markets, but still. That Duke St. John's game is going to be incredible. Again, I feel like for Pitino, it just meant so much more after being upset and disappointed last year as the 2 seed versus Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks. He needed to get St. John's to the Sweet 16. You saw how much it meant to him. First time since the 90s. Just a great story. And I feel like everybody's rooting for Rick Pitino. It's funny for
Which
a
is
dude that's been in
hilarious.
so many
Yeah.
scandals, right? And so many scandals and allegations. Feels like everybody loves Rick Pitino. He's a funny dude. He's a funny guy. Like it's easy to root for this guy. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of his and what St. John's.
There's definitely something to be said about like the entire country seems to get a kick out of just like Italians in New York. Like everybody thought it when Tommy DeVito was the quarterback of the Giants a couple years ago, it was like a phenomenon. And it's like this guy, he's a terrible quarterback, but it's just funny that there's like an Italian guy who's like the guy in New York. And now there's Pitino with St. John's. I can't wait. He always talks so glowingly about his players too. It's always so wholesome for a guy where you kind of know deep down behind those eyes there is something evil, but we love. He's just so it's great for college basketball, man. It's why we watch.
I don't know if you saw the clip when they were up 20-3 on Northern Iowa to start the game. Northern Iowa has to call a timeout because they were inbounding the ball. They had to call a timeout so they didn't get a 5-second call. And Patino's yelling at Darling. Like they just cut to him and he's yelling, "Are you effing high?" Just then it's like, yo, coach, they're up 20-3, but that's the way Pitino goes, and the players love him too. I mean, you talked about it. He compliments the players. They love him as well. I've seen so many Kentucky, Louisville, all the places he's been at, Iona, UMass, like coming out and saying, "Hey, we love Coach P. We're glad he's where he's at." St. John's fans are happy where he's at. I mean, again, I can't wait for this game. Other than this game, though, before we get to that, I got to say, the press from St. John's is incredible.
Yes.
It blows my mind because
Kansas couldn't get the ball in.
Trey White looked like a deer in headlights. He did not know. It looked like he was seeing ghosts. He was Sam Darnold on the Jets, seeing ghosts against the Patriots defense, passing the ball all these different places. And they said it on the broadcast, and they're 100% right. St. John's, if you get the ball in, they're like, all right, cool, you got it in, and they'll back up to half court. Like, it's just like, we're going to put pressure on you to get the ball in. If you do, congratulations, you can get it up the court. We're not even going to press you hard like that, but you're going to have the hardest time in the world getting the ball inbounds. And they'd throw the ball away, and they'd cut to Bill Self, and Bill Self's on the bench.
He was beside himself.
He didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do for him because it's like 13 turnovers. They averaged 10 with 10 minutes left to go in the second half. It's like, you guys can't even get the ball in bounds. And Pitino was livid they didn't get a couple 5-second calls, and I'm with him. I think there was a couple long counts on the calls. It sounds easy. Just get the ball in bounds after a made basket, but St. John's makes it so hard. It's actually so fun to watch.
Yeah, that was also one of those things with Peterson during that game where it's like you're just waiting for him to have some urgency. And sometimes he was trying to get the ball on inbound. Sometimes he was inbounding the ball and he just threw one out of bounds.
Yep.
And he wouldn't even there was no gesture or anything after it. He would just kind of be like on to the next play, which you can say is good. But in a tournament atmosphere, I think you want your guys to have a little fire,
Yeah.
Certainly be competitive. Those are you can't draft someone who isn't competitive. And I don't know if they're red flags. I would still probably take if I was just starting a franchise. I think I'd take Peterson number 1 because I think he's just so talented. But those were the kind of concerning signs I thought from him in that game. Just indifference, I guess.
Okay, you kind of answered my question as we wrap up here. I was going to ask, I mean, when you look at this draft class, I mean, obviously you got Boozer, DeBonsa, and Peterson, and hopefully I don't spaz out my internet and while we actually get to talk about this for a quick second. Last time. But when you look at him, I know you just said you'd still take Peterson number one. I mean, obviously it also depends because I think I saw the Pacers would be interested in Boozer if they're up there.
Yeah.
You got Peterson one. Do you got Boozer or DeBonsa number two? And do you think would you take DeBonsa over Peter? Like, what are your thoughts?
I'd take DeBonsta. I'd say if it's like a big board, I would have Peterson, DeBonsta, Boozer. If it's the Pacers getting the number one overall pick, I would not take Peterson because they have Halliburton, and I every day grow more skeptical of like the two guys in the backcourt. Although Halliburton doesn't really need the ball that much, and kind of Peterson doesn't either, so maybe it could work. But if I was the Pacers drafting number one overall, I would take DeBonsta. And I think it's Peterson and DeBonsta are just these two kind of generational guys. And I think Boozer's a level below that where he's like the best player in college basketball and an excellent prospect. But I wouldn't I think you've got two really, really special guys just above him in the draft. And then after Boozer, I think I'd have Acuff.
Yeah.
Which is like, and I wouldn't have said it, a month ago. I would have said like Caleb Wilson. But it's kind of like, I've seen it kind of thrown around on like the internet. It's kind of like a Derrick Rose run Acuff's on right now.
Yeah.
When he was at Memphis, they went all the way to the finals. And he just kind of became this undeniable force and ended up going number one overall. And I'm not saying he'd go. I don't think he'd go over Peterson. I don't think he'd go over DeBonsta because I think those guys are that special. But I think Acuff is in that mix now because what he's done is just unbelievable.
I'd flip Peterson and DeBonsa for myself. I think I'd take DeBonsa over Peterson. Yeah. I like what DeBonsa has done throughout the season. I feel like he did more with less, even though BYU's season was more of a disappointment, if that makes sense. Like, you look at the tournament game.
Yeah.
Sean Miller, they said, how can you stop him? And he just flat out told Jared Greenberg, you can't. And Greenberg looked shocked. He was like, really? And it's like, that's just, I think he ended with like 32 or something like that, DeBonsa did.
Yeah.
I mean, he came into this college season with all the expectations. Like, he's by far the number one pick. A lot of people were saying his favorite team was the Celtics. People thought, hey, the Celtics, we're going to have a bad year. They're going to get the number one pick, whatever, with no Tatum. Obviously, that's not the case with Boston at all. But DeBonsa, I don't know. You can't teach, I think Stephen A. said this, and I hate quoting him, but he's like, you can't teach 6'6", 6'7", ball handling, shooting. Like, DeBonsa's shooting has impressed me because sometimes you see these college players, they're not good shooters. Like, they can they're just so much bigger and talented, they can get to the rim on anybody. And that's what I saw John Wall say about Darius Acuff Jr., because the conversation right now about him is he the best guard Calipari's coached? And they asked John Wall that on a podcast, and Wall said, honestly, he might be the most all-around guard that Calipari has coached, because he said, Derrick Rose and I, we just could blow by everybody and get to the rim and finish. Like, it was just easy for us. We had the speed that no one else had. We didn't have to shoot. He's like, Acuff can do that, but he can also shoot the ball like some of the best in the business. So I think DeBonsa, with the shooting, with everything, I think his competitive edge, I love it all for DeBonsa. I'd have him over Peterson. I'd have Peterson next. And then Cameron Boozer, he's an interesting one. I saw Jason McIntyre was saying on the Colin Cowherd show, he's already... Like, he was comparing him to Jokic, which is ridiculous. He's
ahead of Jokic.
Yes, that's exactly. He's ahead of Jokic at this moment, which, come on. They're 19-year-old. Let's quit it there. But I think he's a solid post player as well, who can sometimes step out, not too many times. And then you got Acuff, you got Caleb Wilson, which I'm disappointed we didn't get to see Caleb Wilson this term.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think UNC, and that's something Hubert Davis can say, hey, our best player was injured, right? Like, and then you got Kingston Flemings as well. You got other guys as well.
Yeah, he's up there, definitely.
This loaded draft class is going to be fun.
Unbelievable class.
It's like, I forgot the Knicks had a first-round pick, and even though it's going to be in the 20s, I'm like, we're going to still get somebody. Like, this draft class, while it won't be the cream of the crop, it's still a very good draft class. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the biggest name is Boozer that's left, and then Acuff right behind him, and then Flemings. But I think Boozer's on that top three tier as Acuff is rising, and Kingston Flemings is rising as well. But Boozer's still on that Peterson, DeBonsa, and himself tier. So it'll be fun to see. Okay, as we wrap up, Other than St. John's, Duke, which game are you most excited for?
I think UConn, Michigan State.
Okay, yeah, that East region, that East
Yeah,
region.
yeah. It's
Okay.
old school basketball. But also, I mean, you mentioned Cohen Carr. I just love just a human highlight reel. Um,
Hmm.
the game, the like retirement tour caravans on is kind of cool too, for them. And obviously, Arizona, Arkansas, I think is going to be
Yep.
unbelievable.
I agree. I mean, we're just. I mean, you could say every game because every game's going to. Seemingly, this tournament has been incredible. But I'm excited for the defense versus offense. Houston versus Illinois, in that one. But I'm with you. I think the two East games. I think Arizona versus Arkansas. Those are that's the main entree of the week. Those games are going to be phenomenal. And then, especially in the East, whoever gets past those two games and meets up in the Elite Eight. I mean, this East region is turning out to be exactly how we hoped. It's been great throughout the way, and so is the tournament. It's been a great March Madness.
Yeah. Real quick, how are you feeling about the Kentucky players like claiming Arkansas? The guys in the NBA who are like they root for Calipari, they don't root for Kentucky.
You know what? It's fair. Like I don't hate it. Like as a Kentucky fan, I would be furious. I'd be so angry. But as someone from the outside, like I kind of understand because they went to Kentucky, and then after the March Madness, they probably left school and went to the NBA, especially the freshmen. Like Calipari is, where Cal goes, they go. It's strange. Trust me, it's so strange to see these guys that I remember at Kentucky winning all these games, root for Arkansas and say, hey, we hope Arkansas. Like if I was a Kentucky fan, I'd be livid.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's understandable. Is it right? Maybe not, but I understand it. I'll say that.
It speaks to how great a recruiter Calipari is, because clearly he forged very real personal bonds with like all of his guys, and
Yeah.
so much so that I don't know, they probably think Kentucky did him dirty by firing him, and so they lost their loyalty to Kentucky when he lost his paychecks from Kentucky. So I totally got it. I was like stunned when the Sixers did their little social media thing where with all the players, who do you think's gonna win? And Maxey walks by and he's like Arkansas. I was like Arkansas, and that's kind of when I caught wind. I was like, oh, they're all just Calipari guys. So it was interesting.
I think you're 100% hit the nail on the head about when Kentucky fired. I remember a couple of players, I forget who, like tweeting out like this is ridiculous, like
Yeah.
against Kentucky. I think Halliburton had the best quote
Oh,
tweet of
yeah.
them all. After Iowa State beat Kentucky, I went to go text all the Kentucky guys, but forgot their Arkansas guys now. And that really sums it up because all these teams, if you haven't watched them on the social media of NBA teams, hey, who's going to win March Madness? All the Kentucky guys are saying Arkansas. I think PJ Washington, if I'm correct, and I think I remember seeing this. Like they had at the Mavs practice, they had them wear like the pennies of all their college teams. PJ Washington had an Arkansas one. He went to Kentucky. He had an Arkansas penny on. Like
Unbelievable.
it's really like that. Coach Cal, say what you want about him, but like you said, he's forged these relationships and these bonds. I think the day after they won the round of 32 game, he stayed in New York to watch. I'm forgetting. I think it was a Brooklyn game, but one of his players was in it. One of his old players was playing, and just my off day, let me go check in on one of my guys.
Yeah.
So, say what you want about Calipari. The guys love him around the locker room that have been in the locker room with him, and that's props to him. So, that's an interesting point. All the Kentucky guys, every single one of them, the ones you're thinking about right now, they've said they got Arkansas winning. So, that's something I think with Kentucky they got to build back too. They got to build that brand back, especially with Mark Pope probably on the hottest of hot seats coming into next season. So.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's been a fun tournament so far. It's been a great March Madness. I'm excited for the we're past the round of 32, for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 this fun weekend. And then the next one, we got the Final Four National Championship. It's going to be a good one. Let me know in the comments below. Let us know in the comments below who you have in the bracket, who busted your bracket. Let us all know about what happened in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe here to Backman Sports and to Vincent's channel, Vincent Zakian. Hey, we'll have more court vision coming soon. NBA, we got like 10 games left in the regular season, so NBA is heating up just as well. So we'll be back to talk about that soon. Hey, that's all we got for court vision here. Peace. We're out.